seconds remaining. 5 seconds remaining. Dire team pick. Radiant team pick.
Kind of nice to not have to do that whole copyrighted music thing. Turn it off before you get into the game. Don't want to screw up the VODs. MRP, your resident Canadian Dota 2 caster. Infamous versus Freedom, guys. It's the Boston Major main qualifiers for America's Line 2. We got the battle of 4th place here, or for 4th place, I should say. Freedom versus Infamous. Winner goes through to the playoffs. Loser goes home. 4 wins out of 7 is the number in the Americas to put you through to the top 4. Don't know what that says about the region. Does it say it's hotly contested? Does it say it's close competition? Does it say it's garbage? I really don't know, but what I can say is that the 3 teams that were expected to move through to the playoffs in FDL, NP, and Complexity will be there. Who they will be joined by will be decided right now. Thank you guys so much for joining me throughout the day. It's our 6th of 7 hours of commercial-free Dota 2 coming your way. So hope this brings you some joy to close out the action for the day. There is going to be one more game after this between Complexity and FDL, and that will decide a bit of seeding, but for all intents and purposes is basically an experimentation game for both of those teams. I'm sure all 4 of these teams are comfortable with one another, and sure, if you're Complexity NP or if you're Complexity NP or FDL, you would like to be able to face, you know, the winner of this game in the playoffs, but none of that going to matter all that much, as in the end, you're going to be facing one of those 3 expected juggernauts in this at least qualifiers to make it in towards the Boston Major. So we'll see who gets themselves a glimmer of hope from this game going forward. We're into the draft. Batrider, a hero we haven't seen make it through pretty much all damn day in the Americas qualifier, at least here on line 2. So interesting to see Freedom get that up. Sand King, Lifestealer, certainly a potent duo in and of their own right. And Infamous, this team, it's like an Arteezy stream. You watch them, you will see a lot of Lifestealer. Whether that's Resident Sleeper or not for you remains to be seen. But definitely a vessel, a greedy one at that, one that's going to find farm in the Sand King for the Lifestealer to get into battle. Of course, Sven, a decent way to deal with the Lifestealer, having the Warcry, Lifestealer, big single target, heavy physical damage, and the Warcry always going to be able to mitigate that for you and your teammates. Not only that, they've got the Lasso into the Rage to control up this Lifestealer, so a couple of good ways to deal with him thus far. For Team Freedom, I like how Eagle has been drafting thus far. He's going to remove out the Timber Saw alongside the Storm Spear. Timber, a decent vessel to get Lifestealer in. Storm Spear, even better one. And of course, a very elusive target for the Batrider to be able to initiate on. Shadow Demon is going to come out. Of course, going to be nice to have in general and up against the Lasso of the Batrider. You can either Demonic Purge the Batrider or disrupt defensively in that case. So Shadow Demon going to look to get up an Aether Lens or a mobility item such as a Blinker Force Staff at some point for sure in this one, and we'll see how he ends up faring. No real great illusion partner, but we will see a Leshrac pick for the 2nd time today in the Americas. We'll see how this ends up working out for Team Freedom. Not 100% sure who picked this up earlier, but I recall seeing it briefly in between games.
10 seconds remaining.
It's a very interesting pick here into Lifestealer. I highly doubt it's going to be in a core role. Can clean up the Shadow Demon illusions relatively easily, but is a squishy target, and Lifestealer, no pun intended, feasts on those squishy targets. Sand King similarly so, provides a lot of burst damage to be able to just take this Leshrac out of the fight.
Admiral Kunkka
Kunkka is going to be the pick from Infamous, and this is a hero we've seen slip through a couple of times now. You know, very minor nerfs to the hero on the boat, and definitely feels just as strong now as he was not too long ago. And SD Kunkka, I mean, how can you scoff at that combination? And some more setup for the Lifestealer as well, to just continue to right-click into these targets. The X, Coco's Rum, always going to be nice. There is, of course, a lot of burst damage coming out from the Sven, especially, you know, recently with the popularity of the Echo Saber build. Definitely just a great team fight hero to have. It apply some pressure, can apply some pressure, up pressure. Who the hell says up pressure? Early on across the map. It's been 6 hours of speaking today, guys, so if my words run away from me, forgiveness, please.
Outworld Devourer.
Okay, so OD gonna be the pick. You know, much like a Shadow Demon, can banish offensively to disrupt the Kunkka combo. And that 4-second duration on the Imprison, even better than Disruption against the Kunkka combo necessarily, as the enemy duration of that X marks the spot is always 4 seconds. So you're going to be able to ensure the safety of your allied hero in that case. Not the greatest against Lifestealer, but generally builds into Force Staff or Hurricane Pike, always going to be nice against open wounds. So a lot of ways to deal with Lifestealer thus far. They don't necessarily need that out of this OD pick. You know, they have Sven who can man up with Warcry and God Strength, doesn't care about open wounds at all. They have the Batrider to jump in on top of Rage if he possibly can, and be able to lasso and control up the Lifestealer. So I don't hate the OD pick here.
10 seconds remaining. 5 seconds remaining.
Hero that deals with illusions decently. I mean, there's no great illusion hero for Infamous' side to further increase the value of this Shadow Demon pick, but it's just a caveat to the OD pick is that, you know, those disruption illusions can be dealt with relatively easily, and this is a hero we see from time to time that can break games in the Rikimaru, so we'll see what Team Freedom are able to get done in this early game. It's going to be the mid laner coming out for Infamous here, and it is going to be a tough lane against a Riki. You know, you're looking at Juggernaut, potentially.
Reserve time.
But I mean, Juggernaut is a hero that once you take his mana away, he's very vulnerable. Against the OD, a tough matchup. You may want to look at Viper, Corrosive Skin. Pretty good versus the Leshrac. Also the kite ability of the Sven with the Viper Strike, but it just doesn't feel like there's a great pick for Infamous here. You know, Puck against Riki is not very good, but they ban it anyways. There's not a lot of melee heroes that do well against OD in the mid lane, and there's not a lot of heroes, period, even with the damage nerf, base damage nerf to OD, that do well against 4 seconds of, yeah, sorry, lane's mine, let me take this last hit and deny your creep as well in that Astral Imprisonment. And Infamous are taking the bulk, if not all, of their reserve time to think of this one. They ban out the Razor themselves, which potentially opened up that OD pick. And here's a hero that probably was the best they could ask for in this slot. You're going to pick up the Tinker. There's a lot of possibility for X shenanigans with your Tinker. You can TP out and then send the Tinker back. Tinker can TP back in with the Infest. So, like, if Lifestealer gets out of position, he can Rage TP, the Tinker can TP back to base, and you can bait in the enemy to thinking they have the numbers advantage, infest the Tinker, come back into the fight. So I like that. The possibility for those types of plays, along with the allied 8-second X duration, which serves as, you know, the poor man's boots of travel for the Tinker beforehand, and then, of course, aside from all of that, you get the blind for Taro. And this is a hero that he played earlier today, and Infamous won with it, if I recall correctly. I definitely had the game with the Infamous Tinker, and I can't exactly recall who it was against, but Infamous definitely won earlier today with a Tinker. It was into some pretty difficult heroes to play as Tinker. So they beat Pain. Okay, so they beat, you know, effectively the worst team in the group, who doesn't have a single win. So that doesn't say much, but I can at the least say that they have comfort in this hero on the Tinker. And Ricky's still going to pose a very big threat to Taro in the mid lane, but at least if he does have a true 1v1 for some amount of time, the blind can serve as the counter to that Astral Imprisonment. So, you know, that can allow him to gain some last hits back. Show of sportsmanship from both sides. IX Mike calling our South American friends bebitos, and a return of an FU to IX Mike. Just, you know, absolutely stellar stuff here, guys. But this is for all the marbles. Winner goes on to the playoffs. Loser goes out to Halloween. I don't know. It's a rough goal, guys. You lose this one. I mean, there's still work to be done, even if you win this game, but this is a big one for both sides. Infamous are 2-0 today, guys, so they're riding some momentum. Going into this one, and
Meant to have this.
very interested to see how this mid lane ends up going. Doesn't feel like the Sven or the Lifestealer are really going to be pressured all that much. I mean, Sven's lane, of course, is much more vulnerable with the Riki rotating around and just a Leshrac in support, so Monk could be a bit hard-pressed to find farm if they bring the two supports over, but, you know, the Sand King alone is not going to be enough, it feels. So, down comes the South to WWD in the mid lane, and he'll get to work here. Our Riki top lane already. Leshrac stun. Torrent will keep them at bay for now, though. Has quite a bit of damage taken there, and the top lane will be the source of all the action here early on. Leshrac stun will keep the Shadow Demon back, and with the Stormbolt, one more right click from Eagle. Oh, the defensive disruption is there, so the first blood ends up going the way of the Radiant. Eagle does find the return kill. Split Earth will connect onto the Kunkka. Monk, he needs a couple more right clicks. He needs some help, and he won't get it. But a lot of action already in this top lane, and they are at least forcing the Riki to stay here. And in that sense, they're securing a much better lane for the Tinker. Of course, the OD winning that early on, as we will see Stinger deny himself to neutrals, but nicely played with the defensive disruption by Infamous's side to ensure that they get the bonus gold, essentially. And we'll see Eagle as well denying himself to neutrals. So for now, that's going to favor IX Mike as well. Ben has, you know, he's CS'd well, as he's a Lifestealer, so he's not too worried about these sticky napalm stacks. Can just rage and walk it off if need be. But it is going to mean IX Mike has to get some free CS in lane. And Batrider, always a hero that's going to benefit from momentum in the early game. And as he goes for the blind, Tinker going to be put under, and not only was his range creep denied, but the range creep taken by OD, and that is exactly what you hate about facing an OD in lane. Torrent going to come through from Stinger. No sentry on the high ground here for the Radiant as far as I can see, and Jubei only level 1, but can put a little bit of punishment into this Tinker with the nuke there. Gets a couple of right clicks off, has the Orb of Venom as well, but doesn't want to tank too many tower shots. And will tank a couple before getting back under the cover of invisibility. Eagle in trouble here. Top lane, they'll drop down the Torrent. It will be there. Perfectly placed onto Eagle. Burrow Strike comes through as well. He has a Split Earth available, but will end up dropping before he can get cast animation off. And you know, this is the opening if you are Infamous's side, is this top lane. You know the Ricky's going to be trying to garner an advantage elsewhere. You know the Leshrac, he's not, you know, the most self-sufficient or the tankiest support in lane early on. So you try and gain an advantage in this top lane, and they've done well to do so early on. 2-1, all 3 kills occurring in this top lane. Jubei, he's now joined up, has his level 2, so can drop a smoke screen, which could be, you know, a big tipping factor in these skirmishes going forward. But already the Radiant side controlling the lane, getting the side pull off. There's a sentry down as well. Jubei, he's been scouted here, but do they really want to go in? I mean, Burrow Strike forward as a Sand King, and you're going to get Storm Bolted into Split Earth more than likely. So it looks like Freedom will do their best to be able to clean this up. Torrent gonna come through, doesn't actually find a last, it does find one last hit on actually the big creep there for the Kunkka, so well worth it. Meanwhile in the mid lane, Tinker recovered nicely, 17 and 8 to the 14 and 9 of his counterpart, and coming through into the mid lane is the Shadow Demon. Kunkka running over with a haste, and that means if Shadow Demon can get in on WWD, then they'll have certain kill potential here with the Torrent combo. It is nighttime. It's going to be, yeah, very much a dead OD here. Jubei will not get there in time. Gets hit by the Torrent, will drop down the smoke stream, but it's not really going to matter all that much. WWE will at least ensure he's not killed by his opposite in the mid lane. But he ends up going down to Stinger's Kunkka regardless. 3-1 for Infamous in this early game, and USA not feeling all that comfortable.
Dire's bottom tower is under
For Sven being outfarmed by about 2-fold by the Lifestealer opposite him. You know, IX Mike's getting a better start than he would like, but the Sand King's getting just as good of a start. Has 2 kill involvement as well as the CS, which is about at parity with IX Mike. So Freedom, bit of a rough start for them, and OD certainly a bit of a momentum-based hero. So definitely don't want your OD having a poor start. Kotaru, I've already seen today his capability and his competence on this hero and the Tinker. Jump forward, Stormbolt connects onto 2. Jubei will drop a nice smoke screen as well. The Split Earth is there. The Shadow Demon, he's going to drop. Diabolic Edict is going to be there. They don't have enough with the Burrow Strike keeping them at bay. And they didn't have enough for a Stormbolt, but they will in just a moment. Now they're going to look to chase down the Sand King. He may be the bigger target to bring down. He certainly is with the farm he's accrued. Burrow Strike's not going to connect onto Monk. They need a couple more right clicks. Jubei does not have enough for a Blink Strike just yet, but they will be able to pincer him in at the very least. And Monk, unable to find the last hit, but Eagle will be able to do so. They'll tie the game up 3-3. And a blunder in the top lane from Infamous looking to contest that pull. They've got all this warding down, so they feel like very safe to make these plays with all the information available to them, but just not with enough firepower to do so. And they just perhaps didn't expect the Ricky around, who hit 2-man smoke screen with a Split Earth underneath it. And a beautiful couple of kills going the way of Freedom. Of course, Sven still being outfarmed heavily by the Lifestealer, but if they're able to stack these up a bit with IX Mike, that should be more than enough recovery economically for the Sven to eventually overtake this Lifestealer. Sentry going to be dropped down, and how they're going to ensure that if they make that move again, they'll know the Ricky's nearby. A couple of sentries, in fact. Neither of which block the camp, but... Smoke up, Eagle and Jubei to towards the bottom lane. Not quite enough just yet for a smoke screen onto Benhaz, and they are going to need that in order to bring him down. They have the lasso, though. Bottle up from IX Mike, and they look to go in, and almost with a sixth sense, the Lifestealer backs out of lane. Now Eagle gonna drop a ward on the high ground. Take a look at the Radiant Vision. He does not see. Oh, he will infest into a creep though. They're gonna try and bring this down now. He is gonna get the rage off. They will be able to lasso him up, but the rage should be there for enough time to get the smoke screen off. It's not really gonna help all that much. They more than that needed the Split Earth, and Benhaz, with a sixth sense bottom lane, is gonna thwart the first lasso attempt coming out from Freedom's side. We'll be able to make it back to safety. That is a huge play for him to be able to survive there. And in the meantime, you know, with all these heroes off the map, Monk, he can't be sitting in lane farming. He only gains 1 camp worth of CS that entire time.
Radiant's middle tower
Jubei back in towards the bottom lane, but he's going to be leery about this area now that they've tried for this. And there are sentries down, at least in the jungle, so Ben has feeling a lot more safe. Doesn't have his Infest available anymore. But what a play there. Firstly, backing out of lane, then infesting the creep, getting his rage off as soon as he gets out, and just making it impossible for them to be able to split Earth off the back of that lasso. May have even been worth just saving the lasso at that point. Jubei in towards the mid lane. Drop down a sentry and it's just out of range of the Radiant one, so he was briefly scouted.
Radiant's top tower is under attack.
Eagle dirt poor at this point, but not as bad as the Shadow Demon opposite him. At least has a set of shoes for himself. Boots of Travel now picked up by the Tinker at fairly standard timing after having a good lane. Smoke behind the Tinker. It's going to be Stinger with level 2 X and a level 3 Burrow Strike available as well on the Sand King. So similar in the way of cast range, and they're going to look towards the top lane. We do not have Soul Catcher available on the Shadow Demon just yet. Jubei's going to walk under sentry. He's going to be dropped into a torrent. He'll try and get down smoke screen, but he will end up dropping. Now Stormbolt going to come through on top of the X. Split Earth is there as well, so they cannot bring Monk back into any danger. Diabolic Edict, a couple right clicks will finish off the Kunkka. Nicely done with the Firefly Vision. They'll be able to imprison up another, and that's going to be 2 kills. Great reinforcement from the mid lane from Freedom, expecting that rotation as they see Benhaz missing from bottom lane. I'll net them a couple of kills. Mid lane, you know, it's a Tinker. You're not too worried about him pushing your structures, so he is farming well. And at the end of the day, they only get 2 supports out of it, but nonetheless, it's a smoke gank attempt thwarted. Save their tier 1 for the time being. They give Jubei a little bit of space in the bottom lane. He's going to pick up his Tricks of the Trade relatively soon, which is going to be really nice to have against the Kunkka. Jubei going to scout a regen rune in the bottom of the river, and are going to continue to farm away as WWD able to snag that one up. Still no Ancient stacked for this Sven is a bit of a concern for this Dire side. 4 staff now picked up by WWD, and that'll always be nice against the Lifestealer. Thought I heard an X somewhere. Simply going to be onto Guitarro with the poor man's Boots of Travel. Jubei not under sentry vision just yet. Lasso is available now that they see Guitarro bottom lane, but he'll just peek in, farm up, and bow out.
2 masts on this brigantine.
Dire's bottom tower is under attack.
And things will stagnate for the time being. We'll see if Freedom look to get active. They do now have the Blink Dagger on IX Mike. 12 minutes in is a good timing for him. 1-0-1, 67 CS. Had a great start as mostly he was unaccompanied bot lane by any enemies. The Blink Dagger simultaneously going to come out for the Radiant side as well. So we'll see who puts it to use first. X is going to find WWD. He can, of course, imprison himself, and that's going to ensure that he will survive, which is what we touched upon in the draft. Benjaz is going to spend some time in the Ancient Black Dragon in mid lane, and perhaps they will look to push with this. They do have a Sven to kind of deal with this, but it's not worth using God Strength. Eagle, bottom lane. Alongside IX Mike. Looking for a pick. They do have a Blink Dagger, but there's a Shadow Demon right behind this Kunkka if they go for it. They're going to have their smoke popped. IX Mike, he'll pop the vision. Goes for the Shadow Demon. Good choice. There will be a two-man smoke screen there as well. Eagle with the Diabolic Edict and the Pulse Nova is able to bring them down. But an Epicenter burrow through two. We'll find two return kills as Benjaz chops down the bat. And it's two supports for a support and an offlaner. Reveals of both Blink Daggers there. And no trades really found elsewhere on the map. Burrow Strike now going to find Jubei under the sentry coverage, but Jubei will just be able to walk it out like DJ Unk. And Benjaz with that kill. 2-0-0 on his Lifestealer. Only a couple hundred gold away from that Echo Saber. Meanwhile, though, Kotaro, he's been a bit of an... Oh, well, I was going to say unattended to problem for Freedom, but that'll tend to him. Flame Break into the Split Earth, and they'll get the Tinker as a very, basically a gift on a silver platter. Which is a huge kill. I mean, you look at what he gives them in the way of value. Torrent is going to catch onto a couple Sanities. Eclipse will finish off one. That's going to be the Kunkka. Benjaz going to try and back away. They should have enough. Oh, he'll get blocked up by the creeps. I was going to say range to imprison him. He will make it into the trees, though, and WWD cannot pursue any further. But Sanity's Eclipse dropped for a Kunkka in the mid lane.
Middle tower is under attack.
It's the kill, I suppose. Zaro back to work bottom lane, 1900 gold on his person, likely looking for that Blink Dagger. Monk does have the Helm of the Dominator and now can start stacking Ancients for himself, but already the Sentry Wars are real. Bay will be able to find the enemy Sentry, and Kotaro could be in a bit of trouble here. Split Earth connects. Alt Nova. Support Lash is going to be able to find another kill in the jungle, perhaps facilitated by this ward. He may have just dropped it down to catch vision of that Tinker. That's a huge kill going to Leshrock's way. 1,000 experience in his pockets. It's a full level, as you can see, bringing him to 9. And that's not a support you want to give momentum to. He's got the Diabolic Edict as well. Meanwhile, though, Benjaz top lane, they get WWD. So arguably, you know, just as valuable of a kill. It's an 1,100 experience split between the triumvirate of heroes that are necessary to bring him down. With the Edict, though, bot lane will be able to take on the tier 1, and Benjaz find himself a last hit. So advantage Dire side there, as no one was able to find the last hit for Freedom. Losing WWD as well, and now IX Mike with the Caustic Finale. Slow. He is going to have to lasso up Sand King in a panic, and Laser will finish him off. Jubei was rotating in with double damage, is still doing so. But there's no Blink Dagger on this Sven, there's no lasso control, so it would be a hard kill. However, Smokescreen into Stormbolt. The Smokescreen not really placed very well, and therefore they have to drop the God Strength to get the kill. Bay takes a lot of damage from Caustic Finale as well. Maybe this opens the door for Infamous to fight with God Strength on the sideline. Of course, a very small cooldown, but still something they can perhaps look to exploit. Again, WWE forced to pop his Imprison and will be able to force away from the Ghost Ship. Next popped again. Torrent obviously off on cooldown here, and they will not be able to pursue further. WWE gonna back himself out of mid lane. Does have the full Hurricane Pike at this point, was able to complete up the Dragon Lance. Benjaz, though, he's continuing to farm. He's got his Armlet on top of Echo Saber and one Mithril Hammer on the way to that Desolator. So he's about that Mithril Hammer ahead of Sven at the moment. Exact, it's about 1,400 gold. But he's going to be spotted here underneath ward coverage. Eagle, can he hit a Split Earth onto this Lifestealer? He will, but there's no follow-up Stormbolt from Monk. It looks like perhaps a miscommunication there. And now Benjaz, he's going to go to work. Warcry comes out to try and save Eagle, and they do have, the jump forward. Burrow Strike Epicenter onto 3. One of them goes down immediately. Monk's trying to TP out, and he will be X'd back into his death. Now IX Mike jumping through will be able to get the lasso off on the Lifestealer, but can he even kill him? He's raged up. And Armlet toggling through the Flame Break regardless. Jubei jumps forward with the Blink Strike, will be able to bring down the Lifestealer, which is a big target. The loose Ben has for it, and overall, it's a decisive team fight win for Infamous. And had Eagle and Monk simply communicated there, you know, Monk was around here when Eagle was here and Benjaz got hit by the Split Earth in that radius. So had he turned and gone for the Stormbolt, they'd probably bring him down underneath the stun duration before Rage comes out. But a little bit of cold feet from the Sven there cost them dearly. Now Jubei gonna jump forward, looking for a kill onto the Kunkka, unable to get it. Laser comes out as well as the Coco's Rum to keep him safe, and Jubei, he's gonna be torrented up and brought down. And Freedom is falling apart in this game. One kill after another. After they finally took it down to equilibrium and perhaps a bit in their favor, it skyrockets back towards Infamous. And now Benjaz, as well as Kotaru, becoming forces to reckon with. We saw this in the previous game from Infamous. They do go for this early Dagon very often on the Tinker. No bypass for Aether Lens, no Aghanims. Straight into the Dagon.
Radiant's middle tower is under attack.
And a little bit of fun between Infamous players. Why is this happening right now? As he will jump up towards that top lane and back in towards base, but IX Mike with the start he's had, just not present for that last fight. A bit of miscommunication from Freedom, and it just doesn't feel like they've gotten enough out of this lasso, whereas 2 Burrow Epis we've seen from the South American squad have been near perfect. Up on the cliff waiting the Sand King with a surprise inside and baiting out Kotaro on his Tinker. The rotation under the cover of smoke now going to come out from Team Freedom, and trying to utilize this extra bit of vision coming out. They should be able to find Stinger here. Blink forward from the Sand King. They get the Burrow off on the IX Mike before he's able to get anything off, with the Infest coming out as well. Benjaz brings him down. Now Jubei gets off the smoke screen, and Kotaro finds a kill onto the Sven. In the meantime, WWD will get a kill onto the Kunkka. Still 2 for 1 going the way of Infamous. They're chasing forward 5 seconds until Blink. They see Jubei under the ward and sentry, but he will jump underneath the protection of his tier 1 now. Running forward. Burrow onto 3. Epicenter channeling as well. Smoke Screen's going to come out a little bit too late. A force forward. Eagle's in trouble. Sanity's Eclipse doesn't do all that much. They did get the Shadow Demon, but not the key targets, and 5 heroes on the deck as the pursuit from the South Americans bears fruit. Benjaz has just been a menace to this Freedom squad. They have no way to deal with them without Lasso Sven. And Sven off the table, they just feel completely invincible on this Lifestealer, as they should. He's got a Deso flying out at this point, even jumping forward, looking for IX Mike is the Tinker. He's going to back out. Now Blink Burrow, perhaps looking to finish him off, but would have been a bit of a confident play. 2,400 gold in the pockets of the Sand King, 4 and 11 kills and assists. 15 of 19 kills he's been involved in. Has been playing superbly on the Sand King. jumping forward with the X safety there as well. Torrent will finish off the OD, bringing back the Sand King. Benjaz with another kill, 7-1-3 on this Lifestealer. And here, take yourself a trip back to the fountain, get yourself some mana.
Gold for my chest.
Why not grab a gem too against this Riki? And this is looking bad for Freedom right now. Their entire Tricore is underfarmed, and you know, at this point, Ancients seem a little bit too little too late for Monk. They needed to prepare this earlier, but IX Mike just had such a good time in lane that he never really had time to retreat and do this. There will be the counter gem to be picked up by Freedom, but Benjaz bringing down another tower top lane, 1,700 gold on top of his Desolator. Perhaps into a Basher hereafter. And right back into a Sand King for now. 4 staff completed up by the SK not too long ago. On top of the gem, he's got 2,800 gold. Maybe looks for a side device. Demonic Purge is going to catch IX Mike and then blink forward with the Burrow Strike. They're almost able to bring down Jubei, who still survives for the moment. They'll X him back though. Homing Missile will finish him off. Another will fly over onto WWD. And they just have total map control. Even if they're not farming, they're farming at least on the Tinker in the lanes and applying massive amounts of pressure elsewhere. Monk looking to be able to find this Tinker, does have a Blink Dagger, but Kotaro not showing in lane. And in the meantime, this tier 2 in mid lane being clawed at by Benjaz's Lifestealer, who is much bigger than he should be at this point. With the Echo Saber and the Rage, he'll be able to finish off tower in the mid lane. Bit of an errant open wounds there, but shouldn't matter all that much as he's able to back out cleanly. And it's hard to determine what the play is for Freedom. Perhaps Roche is their best bet here with the Batrider. Sanity's Eclipse, God Strength, Smokescreen, a lot of good abilities around the pit, but you are into a Kunkka, a Sand King, a Tinker. So they're no, like, Infamous is no slouch in the pit either. And there is ward coverage up on the cliff here. They do see the trail of flames. Not going to see Jubei as he walks in, but looking to pick that Batrider off, which would have certainly opened the door for Roche. And now they're going to do exactly that with the Infest. 2 swipes of the claws from Benjaz, perhaps even 1 at the point. Torrent, oh, almost catches Jubei. They'll X him back. He's forced to Tricks of the Trade. Tries to get out. Bolt will be there. He blinks down to the south. Smokescreen, nicely placed. They'll try and TP out. Burrow, though, going to be there in time. And they'll get 2 kills, and that's likely a Roche. If not, just backdooring this tier 1. Benjaz again taking the last hit is absurdly farmed on this Lifestealer. I mean, his Tinker is almost struggling to keep up with him. Only 1,000 net worth ahead, and he's a Tinker for Pete's sake. 9-1-4 for Benjaz thus far. And they're just constantly utilizing this X to keep themselves on the map, keep applying the pressure towards Freedom, and the Americans are looking hard pressed to turn this one around. Aghanim Scepter now complete. Full-on luxury item coming out for the Sand King. Benjaz with his rage down, trying to back out. IX Mike trying to punish him for sticking around. But does he really have the wherewithal to do so? So much range of initiation from the Sand King. He'll force him back. They have the God Strength as well as Sanity's Eclipse. Everything when the kitchen sink going to be thrown at Benjaz. And 659 gold for the streak. They won't get anything else off the back of it, but overall it's a 2,000 gold swing, 2,300 experience swing for 1 hero, and a hell of a lot of commitment. God Strength, Sanity's Eclipse, Lasso, all used for that kill. But this may mean a Roche as well, so it could be a pretty big kill from Freedom, and you can't really blame them for dumping what they did into it. (23-17), 27 minutes in, but all of this has pretty much been done without Kotaro for Infamous's side. He's now going to TP down to the bottom lane. He'll be a little bit too late to stop this Roche attempt. And now a jump forward as well from WWD. They'll put down the smoke screen. It's just an illusion though. Burrow Strike connects onto 2. Torrent will hit 1. Both coming through as well. IX Mike is able to force away, but WWD not so lucky. Force that forward. Epicenter finishes off the Batrider. X is going to be there onto the OD. He's going to drop. Torrent will finish the job. And there's the fight with Kotaro involved. He's now going to bots forward. Has the rearm on the blink. Going to go up towards the high ground. Eagle frantically running, and the homing missiles will find him out. Blink down to the low position, and Dagon 5 to the face for Kotaro. Wicked 6 streak on this Tinker. 4 heroes on the sideline, only one of which has buyback in the OD. And up towards the high ground we march as Infamous's side. Benjaz going to go right in towards the tier 3, and Kotaro bodying Freedom back with the safety of the X under his boots. And this will be a melee racks at the least for the Radiant, as South America looking to get some sort of representation in this America's qualifiers in the playoffs. America looking for the sweep, North America I should say, looking for the sweep with Freedom here, but it's looking grim for the North American sweep. And they're hanging around here. Monk's going to show himself mid lane. They do have, of course, the OD behind him, so not the most ideal target to initiate on. Eagle nearby as well. The big range coming out from the Aghanims. We'll get Benjaz, though, who is arguably the way bigger kill to find here. Like, Torrent gonna keep them back. Dagon comes through. They bring down the Sven with the Aegis. Jubei gonna get hit by the boat, as does IX Mike. Benjaz armlet toggling here. Gets a bash onto the Sven. Monk and a war cry up. Looks for him, but he doesn't have any god strength. He's gonna be brought down, and still the Lifestealer's live. Dagon godlike for Kotaro. And right back into the X shenanigans they go. One buyback available aside from this ODs. That's going to be the Sven, and that's going to sound the alarm, or the retreat, I should say, from Infamous. But they have total control of this game right now.
Dire's bottom tower is under attack.
And this is exactly what I was talking about in the draft screen. You infest someone, you X them up, come right back into the fray.
Dire's middle barracks.
Few seconds later, and all buybacks are available. Jump forward. There's the infest bomb. Couple right clicks with the rage ensures a death on the OD, who just bought back. Down for 70 seconds. They'll get another kill on Jubei. And the carousel will give the Lifestealer another kill. Back to the fountain and back to the battlefield. 13, 2, and 6 for Benjaz, but his supporting cast has been stellar in this game. You look at the net worth, and it is just dominated.
Dire's bottom tower is under attack.
X once again onto the Tinker to bring him back. Benjaz will make short work of this tier 3, as 2 heroes are still on the sideline. And jumping forward, Lasso will find Benjaz. He doesn't get the rage off, but a huge Burrow Strike with the Ags hits onto 2. They'll get the Tinker dual kit off as well, and Freedom will tap out. In this one, guys, Infamous 3-0 after having a rough day 1 in which they went 1-3. Infamous go 3-0 today to finish 4-3. What a showing from them. The South American squad, all of which are from Peru.